Jim Lang is our NFL insider, and he joins us from the Big Smoke to talk about it. Jim, I can't even tell you the state of mourning they're in around here in South Florida. Nobody thought going into that game this would be the outcome. What's your reaction?
My first reaction is why did Tua not slide? The rules are set up for the NFL for a quarterback when you're running. Once you get into the slide position, you're untouchable. And he puts his head into the chest of Damar Hamlin to try to run him over like he's a fullback when he's had 4 concussions already. I did not understand that. And yes, it's competitive. Yes, you're trying to win. But there is a self-preservation mindset to being a quarterback in the NFL, running out of bounds, sliding so you don't take the big shot. Because once you drop the shoulder, you're considered a running back, and the defenders can hit you anywhere. And when you look at the replay, they were not even trying to give him a kill shot. This wasn't like Ray Lewis or Ronnie Lott back in the day. They were just trying to make a stop on the play, and they almost looked like they were anticipating the slide, and he didn't. And he ran into them head first and gave himself a concussion.
Well, I think at some point, inevitably, he'll be cleared and he will be back on the field. I mean, this was not a case of if he was ever going to be concussed again. It was when, and now here they are. So if you're the Dolphins, what do you do?
It's a great question. Okay, now the Dolphins have an early bye. So they have 9 days now to their next game when they play Seattle. They play Tennessee and New England. So that's a couple winnable games, depending on how they play. Then they have the bye. So you could sit him out until October 20th when they play the Colts and give him a long rest. Now, I know it's all rush to judgment and overreact the day after, and he's got to quit, he's got to retire, blah, 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 blah. He's a competitive guy. He's a proud guy. He signed a big contract. I don't see him retiring between, like in the next 10 days. I don't see it. I see him doing everything possible with the medical staff of the Dolphins, with the concussion protocol in the NFL, to come back and give it a legit another shot. So he's not thinking, what if? Now, after this, the doctors may tell him 1 more concussion protocol. That's it. We medically shut you down. You never play again. And we'll take the decision out of your hands. But right now, I don't think he's just walking away from the game. He's such a competitive individual. And I think he sees what they have in Miami with Tyreek Hill and all the talent and all the offensive weapons and the potential. I don't see him saying, that's it, I'm just going to walk away from football. I really do see him, even if it's waiting until after the bye week on October 20th when they play the Colts, giving it at least 1 more shot, 1 more try to see if he can still play in the NFL's starting quarterback.
I agree. To the audience, if you don't mind, their questions are always so much fun. Colin in Ottawa writes in, he says, are we sure that the Falcons will win the NFC South? Both Tampa and New Orleans blew out their opponents, and I think Baker can lead the Bucs to win the division. I never said the Falcons were going to win the NFC South. Far from it. What do you think about that division?
I think Tampa's the team to beat. Baker Mayfield's got great weapons. He has totally found a home in Tampa. He's got a great relationship with the coaching staff. They're well coached. They've got some depth on both sides of the football. The offensive line gives them time to throw. And when you got a guy like Mike Evans and you got time, Baker Mayfield's going to make plays. The Saints are good, but my big thing is it's Kirk Cousins. If you watched him in week 1, he's not 100% healed from the Achilles tendon injury, Rod. He does not move well in the pocket. And part of playing quarterback in the NFL is using the lower body as that engine to push and drive when you're making a throw. I don't think it's there yet. And that's my concern with Atlanta is what kind of quarterback play are they going to get from Kirk Cousins? And when is he going to be 100% healthy? I don't even know he's ever going to be 100% healthy again. So to me, Tampa's the team to beat in the NFC South.
Sure, and he also was not all that in Washington. He was not all that in Minnesota. Why would we think he would be all that with the broken Atlanta Falcons? Are you a fan of Aaron Rodgers or not? Personally. I think we all are
quarterback or the person?
Yeah, either or.
The quarterback, I think he's a great quarterback. He's a Hall of Fame caliber NFL quarterback. There's no question. The person, he's a what do you call it? An enigma. He's very interesting. Some of the stuff he says, some of his theories, some of his ideas, where he comes from, he's very different. He's a very different athlete, very different person. Hey, you do you. That's my philosophy in life. That's the way he is. They have a winnable game against Tennessee. This is a good matchup for the Jets on the road. They can beat Tennessee because the Jets still have a good defense and they have some good weapons. And Aaron Rodgers, again, it's not too dissimilar to Kirk Cousins. His timing isn't there yet. It might take week 2, week 3 before he starts to get into Aaron Rodgers type quarterback play. As far as what he says as a person, I tend to tune it out mostly. A lot of the stuff I'm like, I kind of roll my eyes and go, what did he say? If I'm a Jets fan, just play quarterback. Just throw the ball, make plays. Let's win games. I honestly, if I'm a long-suffering Jets fan and you've not done anything really since Super Bowl III, I don't care that kind of person. Please, please play well and lead my team back to the promised land.
Right. Well, for sure. The reason I bring that up is his comment this week after they lost on Monday Night Football. If you're getting off the bandwagon, stay off and don't come back. He's getting to, he's 40. He's get off my lawn territory now. Old man grumpy.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, like I am in the afternoon when I don't have my coffee. I can empathize. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. What are the other week 2 games that piqued your interest, or other NFL stories that have? Because there's a million.
Well, I mean, Tampa in Detroit is going to be a great game. This is a great challenge for Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, having to go into Cincinnati to take on the Chiefs. And there's some questions about Joe Burrow's health and how he is. Pittsburgh, with a really, really gutsy win on the road in Atlanta. Now they go into Denver. Denver have got issues at quarterback. So who knows what Pittsburgh could do. And as surprising as it is, they could be 2-0. But the team I'm really looking forward to is the Sunday night game, because I think C.J. Stroud is the real deal. I thought he was last year. He is again this year. They're home against Chicago. Chicago really got nothing offensively last week. So this is a good matchup, a very good matchup for the Houston Texans. I mean, Cleveland, Deshaun Watson and the offense were so bad. Now, I'll give Dallas credit. The Dallas Cowboys look phenomenal on both sides of the football. And the Cowboys have a good matchup against New Orleans. It's a winnable game for the Cowboys. But if Cleveland goes into Jacksonville and they play as bad as they did last week offensively, and they lose that game, and they're 0-2 with that $200 million anchor around their neck and Deshaun Watson, and now more allegations coming up, that's a bad scenario for a Cleveland team that, when Joe Flacco took over quarterback, captured the hearts of football fans everywhere, and people want to see Cleveland do well, but Cleveland could be in a big hole early in the season.
You know, by the way, you talk about the Cowboys. They're my team. That's not a secret. I'm wearing their gear.
Yeah.
What's with this NFL mentality of giving quarterbacks the bag before they've really ever won? That seems to be the thing. Like, I understand the CFL, it's apples and oranges, but up in Canada, the guys get the big money once they've won, and they've earned it. I get that. In the States, Lamar's never won. Dak's never won. Tua's never won. It's a longer list of guys getting the money that's Kyler Murray. So it seems like every team's got one. I don't get it.
Rod, the only analogy I can give you is the same thing with the second contract in the NHL. You score 25, 30 goals your second contract, you're getting big money because the teams are afraid to lose them. And I think a lot of teams look at a quarterback and go, wow, he's good. He's not great, but he could be great, and I don't want to lose him. And so I'm going to give him big money, lock him up, and there's going to be no talk, no rumors, no whispering to agents, no whispering to friends in the media that I'm not happy. So make them happy, give them the money, and hope for the best. Now, sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. And I think that's a gamble that teams make and play all the time in the NFL is, I have a quarterback. I think this is the quarterback we're going to win with. Let's give him big money because that's the going rate for signing a quarterback. Because if you're a starting quarterback in the NFL, you're expected to make this much money and get this much term. And then you hope. Now, Cleveland, it looks like it's blowing up in their face. I think the contract for Dak is a good one for Dallas. And getting CD Lamb locked up, who is a fantastic receiver. They're strong on both sides of the ball, offensive and defensive line. I like Dallas, and this could really, really pay big dividends for the Cowboys, the opposite of the disaster that's potentially unfolding in Cleveland.
It's a good deal for the Cowboys because it's a short deal. I mean, they could be out of it. It's a 4-year deal more than anything. They're not locked into anything. And, hey, Jim, I believe you hear it from everybody that Dak is the guy. You hear it from everybody. I'm just like, I don't see it, though. I mean, last week it's against the Browns. That's not an accurate judge of how good this guy is. He's not playing in conference championships. He sure as hell isn't playing in Super Bowls. That's what I don't get. Mahomes is the guy. I don't see it from Dak.
Yeah, but you see, Mahomes is in the Tom Brady mindset is, I have rings, I have money, I want to make more money. So they restructure their contract and don't go for the ultimate home run because they want to. I want to make sure that, Rashee Rice is there and Travis Kelce is there and these other pieces are in place in the team so we can win. And some players have a different mindset, like, no, I want to make my money to make sure I have my money. And if I win, and then I'll restructure my contract. But, I mean, you look at a lot of teams in the NFL, there's a lot of quarterbacks between the age of 22 and 27 with big contracts, and the teams are gambling in them that they're going to be the next Patrick Mahomes or whatever and lead them to a Super Bowl victory. And they're gambling in that. They hope that Jordan Love does that in Green Bay. They mean every team in the league is hoping for the same thing. I mean, look at the disaster of Daniel Jones with the Giants. Do you know, since he signed that contract, he has thrown more pick sixes than touchdown passes? That's the albatross that they're dealing with the Giants. And they've got to find a get rid of him and rebuild and start from scratch because they're going nowhere if you have a quarterback who can't throw more touchdowns than he does with pick sixes.
I'm glad you brought that up. And I hope my guy Chris from the Bronx is watching, close friend of mine down here in South Florida. He's a Giants fan, the G-men, as he calls them. I heard on the radio the other day that they're already tanking, that they're already going to throw the season to get the number 1 overall pick. And nobody can argue it. And basically, some said they're so bad, they don't even need to try to tank.
Here's a scenario for you if you're the Giants. Here's a gentleman with deep connections to the Mara family and the Giants who is killing it. I mean, he's killing it on different platforms of media by the name of Bill Belichick. Now, who would you trust to rebuild that franchise, to give the keys and say, make us respectable again? Because we're a laughingstock right now. You go out there, NCAA, NFL coordinators, or Bill Belichick, because his stock is going up every week. I said it the last time we spoke. I said, people are going to love him when he breaks it down. And he's just getting better each week, looking at the games and breaking down what's happening and what will happen.
I love it. And I wonder if they will. What is he, 72? We got Al Michaels calling me. Al Michaels is 79 calling the game last night.
But his mentally, I don't know what he's like physically, I don't know, but mentally, his football IQ is, I don't think there's anyone can touch him still. I mean, you hear him, how he looks at little minutia things and talks about why they're doing this and how you do that. And there's no one better.
He's got the youthful spirit. Ask his girlfriend. Yeah. But I want to tell you this. I'm going to give you a job, Jim. This weekend, go to The Athletic. Yes. And read the story on Troy Aikman. It's long form, but it's really good. And maybe you won't love it as much as I will. I'm a Cowboys guy. But he was asked at the end, who would you have liked to have played for that you didn't get to play for? And he named a couple of guys, and then he goes, don't tell Tom, but I would have liked to play for Belichick. My point on everything is Tom and Bill are playing up for the camera, and Robert Kraft, we all were led to believe they hate each other, but it's like they're all getting along now. I think because there's some money to be made or something. It's nice to see because I don't think they like each other.
Well, I do know for a fact that, he did not like Barry Switzer. Like Troy Aikman, he had no love lost for Barry Switzer, and they won that Super Bowl in spite of Barry Switzer. And you've seen it in NFL films, you've read articles, you've talked about, after Jimmy Johnson, he would have walked in glass for Jimmy Johnson. And then Barry Switzer just wasn't the right deal. But I totally agree with that with Troy Aikman talking about Bill Belichick, because Troy Aikman was a guy he just wanted to win. I don't think he cared if he threw 150 yards or 450. I mean, all he wanted was the star on that helmet and victory. And that's the mindset that, led them to such a great run there with Jimmy Johnson. And I totally see that. But just you make a good point about certain teams. By the end of this month, there's going to be some teams that look like, hey, we've got no shot even turning it around. And do we just start cutting guys, trading guys, looking ahead to next year, looking ahead to the draft, and start thinking about who is going to run the team and be a coach? Now, if you think the Giants are bad, do you know that in Carolina, they have the Panthers home opener against the Chargers? Right now, you can see online, you can buy tickets, a pair of tickets for $60 to see an NFL game, $30 of tickets aftermarket. They're practically papering the house. Depending where you sit, you can get them even cheaper. That's how bad it is in Carolina. So, I mean, no matter what team you're in the NFL, you can say, at least I'm not the Carolina Panthers.
Right, because their owner's an idiot. And the thing is, at least the fans know he's an idiot. There was no hope even going into the year. I think with the Giants, there was a little hope. And by the way, it was on Dan Patrick's show, and they were just, the crew was saying, Dayball probably walked into the Giants owner, it's Mara family, right? And said, hear me out. Let's tank it now, but you got to keep me to coach next year. It was just a funny way that they said, rolled it out.
Look, there's going to be some owners who will have conversations with Bill Belichick because it's not tampering, because he's a broadcaster now. And throughout the season, there's going to be calls and meetings with Bill Belichick and say, would you take a look at my football team? Would you take it over? Is it something you're interested in? I think he's going to have multiple offers from multiple teams, and he's going to be able to pick which one suits him best, and he think he can win the quickest with.
I'm sorry, we're way over, but Freddie in Winnipeg wants to know if you think the Bears can win at Houston. I couldn't sleep tonight if I didn't get that in.
Okay, they can if they play defense and special teams like they did in week 1, but they were phenomenal. But they have to get some offense. If they don't get any offense, they barely got any offense in week 1, they're not going to be good enough to beat C.J. Stroud and the Texans at home, no.
Yeah, I don't think it's a 6.5-point spread. It's one of the biggest spreads of the week. Jim, thank you, man. Enjoy the ball. Appreciate you jumping on.
You're the best, Ron. Have a great weekend.
You are. Jim Lang, Canada's foremost NFL expert, joining us on a Football Friday.